MGM Plus's The Westies wrapped its first season on August 23rd, 2026. You may not have heard about this show ever. And I should start off by saying that I often hate television. Most shows today don't have the ability to make compelling episodes that are worth coming back week to week to week for. With that in mind, and a very high caliber for what is good or not, this show has an all-star cast with a rather familiar premise. The twists are not unlike things you've already seen before, and yet, this is addictingly good TV. The Westies is the best television I've seen all year so far. I'm the real-life fake wizard, and this is a fake wizard's review of The Westies. If this video brings you any value, hit the subscribe button, as we're posting lots of reviews every single week. The Westies, an Irish gang, are outnumbered. The Italian crime families run New York City, but with development of the Javits Center on the west side and all the construction money pouring into the city, the gangs are willing to hold something of a truce, if only to make sure everyone gets a piece of the construction money pie. J.K. Simmons' Sweeney is the leader of the Westies, and his protege Jimmy is the heir apparent. Except, unlike Sweeney, Jimmy has something of an honor code, especially with his boys and the locals in town, making conflicts with the other gangs that much more difficult to work through and also violent. Titus Welliver's Glenn grew up as part of the Westies, but after serving in the military, returned home and became a police officer, beginning the series still on the pad and an informant to the gang. Glenn's world turns upside down when an FBI agent blackmail/recruits him to work on her task force with the intent to take down Sweeney, the Westies, and the other crime families. Jimmy's girlfriend Bridget is IRA, using her relationship with Jimmy to partially cover up her past life and previous name. The real question is, can a show where basically everyone is a bad guy still be good? Because they are. Virtually everyone in this show is a bad guy, and the answer is yes. Very much yes. Now, as we get into the nitty-gritty here, this is the best kind of television because I looked forward to it every single week. And I want to be specific about why, because it's not the reason most shows earn that today. Each episode is satisfying enough on its own that you come back to see what happens next, not because it ended on a mystery box cliffhanger daring you to return. You're not sitting there waiting for answers, you're just excited to see what these people do next. For instance, the show plays with time in a way I don't see much anymore. An episode will end, the next one will start, and you don't immediately know how much time has passed contextually in between. Sometimes it's the next day, sometimes someone mentions almost in passing that the thing you just watched last episode actually happened a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago in the timeline of the show. That is show don't tell, and it's really good storytelling because it makes you wonder what else happened off screen in those gaps. It also lets these relationships actually build. The whole season is about tensions building and then eventually exploding. By staggering the episodes out over long periods of time, the finale feels more earned. It's almost more believable. Most shows now are confined to such short contextual timelines that the build-ups to betrayal or war or conflict all usually feel so fast, and also that makes them feel hollow. But even if the story is interesting or compelling, you still need a cast worth tuning in for. J.K. Simmons can play stoic, cold, and truly diabolical better than almost anyone working today. And if you liked how vicious he was in that Whiplash movie, this is that energy stretched across 8 episodes. He's not yelling, he's not loud, he's almost worse than that. He's very calm about being cruel. Then we get Tom Brittney as Jimmy, who is a great protagonist despite him not really being a hero. They may say J.K. Simmons is the leading man, but it's actually Tom Brittney. There are rumors floating around right now that he could be the next Batman, and honestly, watching him here, I believe it. I think he could be an amazing Batman. He's got the chin for it. But it's a shame that that role would be stuck inside of James Gunn's DCU, however, because that is trash garbage. However, that's a separate rant. Tom plays this off as a tough guy with a soft side for his people. He's honorable, and because of that, you want him to correct his ways so he can live to see the credits when the series ends, if that's even possible. But he is his own worst enemy. He was raised in this life of crime, and there's just no way he's going to get out of it, at least not without losing his friends and allies in the process. Titus Welliver's Glenn Keenan is the one that grows with you over time. He starts out as a guy you're not really that interested in because you don't know where he's going to land. Is he a cop, a criminal? Is he a coward? Which one will it be? And then, after a few episodes, he finally makes a decision on where he stands, and the second he does, that's the moment you're invested too. This is good writing paying off very good acting. Can you say you're surprised with any of these people? This is an all-star cast here. And yet, above all else, this is a show that wrestles with moral grayness. That's a charged phrase these days, and it's mostly because too many writers don't have a clue on how to actually write it. In this case, these writers do. There are no good guys in this show. Everyone is essentially bad, but they're different flavors of bad. Bridget is out for violent revenge. Jimmy has, as I said, an honor code, but he's also willing to gun down other gangsters and anyone who crosses his men. Mickey, who is Jimmy's best friend, is willing to kill anyone at any time. They're also all willing to infect New York with a serious cocaine and drug problem. They engage in frivolous crime in every single episode. Glenn is a murderer and a corrupt cop, and is also trying to find his way back to the light, while still engaging in terrible acts. J.K. Simmons' Sweeney is calculatedly cruel. He might have loyalty towards a select handful of people, but he's willing to throw away many decades-long relationships for a nickel. Think of it like a Dungeons & Dragons alignment chart. Virtually everyone on this show is running in the evil or neutral columns, but mostly evil. Sweeney is evil. John Gotti, played by Hamish Allen Hedley, is evil. Bridget is kind of evil the whole time she's planning this assassination of politicians. Even the cops and the FBI are corrupt. Keenan's on the take. Polk is squeezing a compromised man for a case that requires him to keep lying. That's the FBI lady, by the way. She's also willing to turn the other way and pretend there isn't cop corruption if it gets her closer to dismantling the mob. These are all compromised people, and yet you know they're bad. They know they're bad. But the show is so interesting, you just can't look away. But this is a fake wizard review. There must be criticisms, and when it comes to criticisms, I had originally written in my notes for roughly 6 or so weeks that I thought the storyline with Bridget was a little weak. Not necessarily because the writing itself or the circumstances were weak, but that it just lingered too long without getting there, you know? There's a setup for revenge, and it seems like each week it's just characters talking about it and nothing ever happening. And then, well, the finale happens. And I scratched that out of my notes as criticism, and instead I realized I loved it. It was a slow burner setup that was clearly going somewhere, and when the shoe drops, it was really good. I don't want to say anything else because I really don't want to spoil it. The Westies may never get a second season. If it doesn't, that's a shame, because this first season was great. However, I might be okay with it not continuing, because the ending here was a solid, completed story. Yes, there are places for this to go should they continue into more seasons, but it's a satisfying payoff in the context of what we got. In a lot of ways, I'd be fearful for what they do or where they'd go next. I kind of think the only direction for them to go is down, and that's sad. No, I will say then my greatest criticism with the Westies is actually with MGM+. I don't know anyone talking about this other than me and a handful of other content creators that I have told about this show. That is a gigantic shame. I found this on accident scrolling on a site that aggregates show release schedules because I needed to schedule out making content. I thought the name was silly, so I clicked on it and I saw that J.K. Simmons was in it. The marketing team at MGM Plus have failed this show because now it's over and nobody saw it. It has like 20 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and the audience score would be significantly higher if people actually got to watch it, but they didn't. And now it's over. It doesn't have the chance of catching a ratings bump each week from people watching it and then therefore talking about it. This show is going to end having lower ratings than Shooty got was Doctor Who. And that is pathetic, but it's not the show's fault. The Westies is a 10 out of 10. It's at least a 9 out of 10, all right? I would argue with you that it's at least a 9. This was great TV. and I highly recommend it. Until next time, create, innovate, inspire, and cancel your Disney Plus subscription. Okay, bye-bye.